a lot of people think that the New York Times is doing well right now. And in a sense, that is true. But in another sense, they face the exact same problem that cable news does, even though they're the most successful of all of the traditional media companies. Let's put this up there on the screen. Peter Kafka, who writes for Recode. And what Peter points to is that the reason that the New York Times is spending $600 million trying to buy The Athletic, which is a sports news website, is specifically because they have a old white Democrat problem. Basically, the vast majority of their subscribers are old, they are white, and they are liberals. And well, there is just a certain point where you reach a ceiling of old, white, rich libs across America before, whenever you have to fulfill your stock price and have growth targets, that it's gonna be difficult. And so they're in a very difficult bind here, Krystal. What they point to is that they're trying to expand into areas which they're not traditionally have. Gaming, the cooking recipes, crossword. Actually, for the very first time just this year, the New York Times makes more money off of non-news products than it does off of the news. That's why they're also buying sports, younger demographic, more diverse. But they have the same issue at the end of the day that all the cable news companies do. And he even points to the fact that 20 years ago or 15 years ago, a lot of people in the cable business said, we'll figure it out. Yeah, old people watch us, but don't worry. The youngins will come. We're spending all this money on millennial marketing, but how did that work out?
Yeah.
Didn't work out at all. So I think the Times very much in the same problem. You know, the millennials who do subscribe to the Times, probably rich white libs, just like normal. And that's just not really a replacement rate that you can count on in the current market.
I mean, I think from a business perspective, they're fine and they're gonna be fine for a long time. But the thing that really matters for all of us is they're subject to the same audience capture phenomenon of any other news outlet. You know, like they know who their audience is and they have a very particular sort of like ideological bubble mindset. And so you shouldn't be surprised when the bulk of their coverage is driven to like satiating a particular ideological worldview of that audience. And that's really, I mean, I think that's the way that this manifests in terms of like the information ecosystem that exists for all of us. Remember, we were having a conversation a while back about the lack of accountability from the media when they got some of these big stories wrong, like when they dismissed lab leak out of hand right at the beginning. And we were saying like, you know, we find with our audience, when we just fess up when we screw up, they actually really appreciate it because they feel like, oh, okay, well, of course everybody's going to get things wrong at times, but if you're willing to admit it, then I can trust you that you're going to be upfront with me when you get things wrong. And so we were saying like, how come that never happens here? How come there's, in this world, like there's no acknowledgement that the most maximalist claims of Russiagate were completely ridiculous or that they shouldn't have just dispensed with lab leak out of hand? Well, it's because they're in this ideological bubble where to acknowledge those things would not be rewarded. Right. You would be really punished by this specific base by just acknowledging, you know, the reported facts that have come out at this point, or, you know, on Hunter's laptop or some of these other stories that are uncomfortable for this worldview. So it not only, you know, it creates some like business risks for them in terms of their aging demographic profile, but more importantly, it creates some real problems for us in terms of trying to sort through what's happening in our country and our world, especially when the New York Times continues to be the paper of record, so influential, have the type of resources that can, you know, put reporters on the ground anywhere in the world and bring you those stories. So we're still very reliant on them for information and understanding what's going on around us.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue is that they continue to be regarded with the reverence of the paper of record, but they're just a blog for rich white liberals that, yes, occasionally has great reporting and all of that, but that's not what most people there are paying for. They're paying for the Michelle Goldberg op-eds and, you know, some of the other just absolute insanity that they have over on the opinion page. That's the main driver. And same with the Russiagate coverage, unfortunately. So
yeah, but because they have the resources, I mean, even we have to depend on them sometimes.
Of course,
try to sort through,
that's part of the issue, right?
Where's the truth in what they're reporting out here?
That's always the problem, which is that you have to then color it and try and wade through, and that makes the job incredibly difficult. And you just see exactly how these all places have become so captured by their audiences and what they demand and what they can't do. Imagine if they were to do some serious reporting on Hunter Biden. They would have cancellations. I know it would happen. And yet, That's part of the reason why then they have the best reporters, but then they direct them exactly in terms of where their resources will be best applied in terms of how their audience wants it to be, which then, as I always say, what they choose not to show you is frankly more important than what they choose to actually show you.
Yeah, well said.
All right.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. More for you later. Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.